Okay, so this is going to be an update on the fig cuttings that I did all the way back in September, I believe I started doing this. So at this time of the year, I'm pretty sure the plant knows it's going into dormancy between the temperature and the light, so it's generally not going to want to sprout and grow. But nevertheless, what I have noticed is here's some of the results of this experiment. These cuttings right here are the ones that I simply stuck inside the containers with water in them. What I simply did is I just took cuttings like this and I stuck them in water with like a soda thing with a lid on it, and I stuck them through the lid thing, and I was growing them that way for a while. They were doing okay while they were outside exposed to steady sunlight and warmer weather. And then once I started bringing them in, I didn't really feel it was necessary to keep them in light, so I decided to keep them in semi-light darkness, not pitch dark, but not in direct sunlight, so to speak. So I had like some kind of ambient lighting getting to it. Since I've done that, I've noticed that all the knobs that you see here started to brown off and harden off and not really give me any sign that they were wanting to grow anymore. They were not doing that good. I realized at some point I need to do something because they're probably going to die if I continue to leave them in that way that I was leaving them. So I figured at this point what I was going to do is remove them from that cup of water that I had where they were just sitting in that light, okay? And I decided to take them and put them into my fish tank where the temperatures are approximately right there. I don't know if you can see that. Where is it? I don't know. You can't see. But it says approximately 72 degrees. So this water is a constant 72 degrees. It has natural fish flora and bacteria in the tank. So I figured I would keep them in there because I usually have really good success trying to root any kind of plant in my fish tanks. I usually just take a cutting and stick them in my fish tanks, and I get really good rooting results from that. And I don't know if it's because the constant temperature and the water has been basically aged in a sense. It's got fish flora in it and bacteria and stuff, and maybe that all has something to do with roots seeming to want to root better in that environment than just taking either rainwater or sink water and rooting it that way. So I took them out of that container, put them in my fish tank, and this is where we're at now. Now we're starting to see a lot better growth development. In fact, I broke a couple small roots that were starting to actually form on here. Here we are in the first or second of December, and you can see that there's these knobs that form all the way up the stem. Now these are the beginning nodules that are going to come out and eventually form the root once it starts to want to go into a vegetative growth state or a growing state, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so that's what we're looking at there. Maybe get you more in the light here. Okay, so you can see they're starting to come back. It mostly turned black. A lot of the ends died off. But now, since I put it in my fish tank, these roots are starting to pop out again. So that's a very good sign. And this one, of course, is doing the best out of all of them as far as the water test goes, keeping it in water. But anyway, you can see it's getting new nodes, new root stubs. I'll eventually cut some of this off once I see roots coming out of it. Alright, so I wanted to show you that. It still held one of the leaves right here. Okay, it still held one of these leaves on. I leave it on there because I wanted to get some kind of light energy into it to help it grow. And on this stem, you can see I got a node, a bud came out. And that's a good sign. That's telling me once that bud comes out, it's ready to manufacture food from light so it can help produce the roots and the sap it needs to survive. And here's the third one that I stuck in water. This one's doing much better as far as root development goes. The roots are still just little nodules. They're not actually hair roots or anything yet. Okay, and that's the bud. It kept one of the leaves, The reason why I lost the leaves is because I took it out of light, and I almost killed them doing that. But I want to find out what is going on with the plant. Will it survive in darkness? Can I root it in darkness? Does it matter? And so far as my observation goes, is this plant has to have some kind of steady light flow to keep it alive. You can't just root these in complete darkness. So my recommendation is, if you are doing rooting, you're going to want to keep it in some kind of light so it can form these buds. And as it forms those buds, it stimulates the rooting growth and everything else. Here's the one. Let me see which one is which here. I didn't label them, but I know which is which. Okay, here's the stem, all right, that I cut and I stuck in the soil that I did not put rooting hormone on it. It's basically dead, okay? But then again, I didn't water it that much, but I knew it was dying anyway. So it's basically a dead stick. Here's the one that I stuck in rooting hormone. And yes, I do have some fungus gnats got in here, and they are spreading. And you can see here, I have a bud. Alright, so there's the bud. Trying to get you in and out of focus here. And that's the bud. Top bud looks like it died, but that's okay, because I also have another bud coming up here. That's okay. So that's a good chance that this is going to live. I got to water this right after this video. So that was the one with the rooting hormone. And here's the third one that I potted. Okay. Okay, so the third one that I potted, it's not throwing out any buds, but the stem is still kind of green, and well, it is throwing out a little bit of a bud right there, and the bud on top is alive, so that's good. That's good. There's a good chance it might throw out leaves, and once it throws out leaves, that means it's in that growing stage, and it needs steady light until spring, so that's going to be a tough challenge to provide that steady light without a timer. That means I have to turn it on and off, and I don't have timers where I'm going to be doing all this. So, but yeah, that's where we're at with this. They're not totally dead. One did die, and that could be because when I went on vacation I didn't water anything, and you can see how dry the soil is. I mean, I just haven't watered any of this really, which is going to get watered right now. So it's probably a good idea to water your cuttings and make sure they're nice and wet so they grow. But either way, I am still having some kind of success. So, alright, so that's just a quick update on the fig cuttings and the results. And I will update you once I get to a point where some leaves come back out and we got some roots going and something to show you, because right now it's still kind of in that state of dormancy from bringing it in and putting it into darkness. And then I may even stratify these plants in cold a little bit, just to get them a little cool, and then I'm going to introduce warm air to it and warmer water and warmer soil, and then maybe we can get this thing to start coming up with leaves. Alright, so that's just a basic update for the fig cuttings, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.